do you think that you actually have a real connection to someone that you're just messaging every day without having a face-to-face conversation with them? And when you talk about if it's breaking down society, I think change is definitely uncomfortable. We are experiencing new ways to experience humanity.
Actually, the information we withhold away from them, they have more of it than we know. You get my point? Now, for example, if they saw me the things they post on food and stuff like that, that's very petty, honestly. The most sensitive things are where am I moving, what am I like. They have that real sensitive information that we may not really get a hold of. And I'll get to this point of if we actually really focus on the negative, we lose the whole point of it.
We get a lot of benefits and convenience from the digital economy and now AI, but it's moving so fast at the present time. I mean, we're up the hockey stick in terms of the exponential growth of AI. So where is it going? Should I really be worried about my grandchildren? Should I be worried about you guys?
One day I asked him, but why do you take a full day to, just put up a piece? Just prompt AI. That's when ChatGPT had come. He started. Wow. The man thinks less nowadays.
Oh, yeah. Sure, folks. Dad is the best.
Welcome back to the Two Sages podcast. Today we have one sage and a lot of young people. It's the first of its kind. We have some people that you will see on the screen and some people that you will just hear. But as every other time, our essence is to get you to ask questions about the world and how to maximize your time here, improve your potential, better the people in your lives, and also better yourself. So today we have a couple of people. I'm David, for those who are listening for the first time. And we have Ian, who doesn't need introductions, but I'll introduce. Yeah, we have Dr. Ian Clark, who is our host. We are here at Bougainville today. Introductions and then, yeah.
Me first?
Actually, not you don't need introductions. Just tell us something cool from your previous week. Yeah.
I haven't really thought about what was cool. So anyway, I'm wearing the shirt that says I'm not old. I'm not old. I'm timeless. Yeah. Because actually, what was in my mind about this, since Zach wasn't able to be with us, was to pull in, the different generations. Particularly, we have here, I think, millennials and Gen Z, and some at that sort of crossover point. Whereas I'm a baby boomer, so there's a few generations between me and the rest of you, and I think the point of these conversations between Zach and me is that we come from different cultural perspectives. Zach being brought up in Uganda, me being brought up in Ireland, but both of us living here in Africa, and it brings a sort of a mix of ideas. And today, I really wanted to see the ideas that are coming out in terms of the generational thing, because if we look back a couple of years ago, Gen Z in Kenya really made a lot of disturbance in the political scene, because they came on the streets, of course. Yeah, and I feel like obviously the future, all of our futures depend on young people, and the young people build on the other generations. That's just how it should be. And so going forward and looking ahead, we're looking at young people here. So when I say I'm not old, I'm timeless, I am actually old. and I may not even have that much time, but it's been a tremendous what's the word? It's been tremendously rich interaction for me to interact, say, with Pauline, with David, with people that I'm working with who are bringing extra dimensions into my life because of their use of technology, because of the way they think. But it seems to me that there's limitations as well. You know, like I was surprised when, you know, somebody who was like 27 or something, they had never really used a laptop. And yet the person had gone to university, but everything they did on their phone. I'm like, how does that work? You know, because the phone's okay. I mean, I find myself using the phone. It's a very powerful computer, but sometimes I just want to sit in front of something that I want to open my laptop and do things. And then also I know that there's a lot of stuff that I don't necessarily use, but I'm aware of it in terms of AI and in terms of like tools that really enhance our lives. And even if I'm too old to really start reorientate my life and my skills toward that, but I'll ask David, you know, or Pauline, if it was financial, I'll ask you. And so I want to hear from all the people around the table. I've got Pauline, who's a financial analyst here, just finished your exams for, what do they call it?
Chartered financial analyst.
Chartered financial analyst. That sounds very, very important. I mean, very accomplished, yeah. And then I've got Caesar, sorry. Caesar, who I've just met today. Caesar, we haven't met before.
We met last time.
Oh, we did. Okay. Well, there you go. That's the old thing. So, Caesar, pick up a microphone there and introduce yourself. Yeah, please.
Good evening. Once again, I'm Caesar Yakatonda. I am I'm a clinician by profession, but I switched lines. I'm into marketing, pharmaceutical marketing, and data analysis. Obviously, in my line of work and analysis and pharmaceutical industry and business, I come across a number of tools. But obviously, any person has a few of their toolkits that they have, and yeah, it'll be great to get into this conversation. Thanks.
We've got Toliva.
Hello everyone. There's so many things I could say about myself, but in simplicity, I am an AI solutions architect. I've been on both ends of AI tools, the creation and the usage. So it's going to be quite interesting for me as well. Maybe we'll share my background a little bit later.
Right now is the only chance.
I'm many things. I started as a mathematician. I was in the line that Pauline was in. So professionally, I'm a financial engineer. That's what I studied for in school. But then in practice, I am more into the data analysis, data science. So with the emergence of AI and the demand for resources towards the development of AI, I moved into AI development, creating AI solutions with most of the big tech companies. And now I am trying to develop solutions for local businesses mostly, explaining AI and what it is, what it can do, what it can't do, and how best to utilize it.
Yeah.
We didn't get the name.
Toliva.
I wanted the man to speak.
It's okay. Yeah. So hi, my name is Kenneth. My background is in software and data engineering, but currently I run a studio that does multimedia. Sort of our purpose is storytelling, basically. And yes, we also want to bring AI and automated intelligence, basically, to storytelling. And we think that's the edge for Africa. So that's in a nutshell. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Name is Calvin Bakudumpaji. I think it is very good that the arts get representation on this table. Finance, pharmacy, all those other things, math and everything. Well, I am a social worker by profession, but a businessman, politician, farmer, educationist, many hats. But I think I'm going to be happy to drink from all your cups of wisdom on this table. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And here we have a real Generation Z. Yeah.
I really don't want to say I'm a Gen Z. I'm not so sure. I feel like I'm older. Like my thing, everything.
I should say I'm a proud Gen Z. It's just an age group.
Differently. So you're like, do I really fall there? Yeah, but my name is Desire Maria Kadu. I am an accountant and a tax consultant. I work with Diba Accountancy Limited. AI, I'm really excited for the conversation. We see how it goes. Yeah.
Okay, great. And David, right now my work is in innovation, really focused on bringing ideas to life, and I work with Ian here. Yeah,
David's basically head of innovation of Clark Group, which includes the university and the farm and anything else that comes along. Yeah, so. Mm-hmm.
Great. So we get into the conversation. I thought we'd start with you. You have some observations that you've made and questions.
Yeah.
And then after that, we shall get people to share their thoughts on those questions.
You know, I've got my grandchildren are now, like, I've got two girls who are like 16, almost 16. And one's in South Africa, one's here. And then I've got another grandchild who's 13. Who's very bright, actually. She's in Ireland. And then I've got another 17, 18-year-old grandchild. So, and then a little guy who's like, you know, their ages keep changing, so it's so
they change every year.
Yeah, it really must be 11. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're, you know, those teenagers are obviously Gen Z, and it's interesting because of course they're all different as human beings. Some of them are very, like Erin is very focused. Thule, who's mixed race, is very quite philosophical in the sense of the questions that she asks about life and how she thinks about humanity. Yeah. So I think having grandchildren that are in that, and then also plus knowing many young people who are at that stage, I think it's Gen Z is interesting. Perhaps that's why Desire's like, no, I'm more focused, you know, I'm an accountant. No, I'm not scatterbrained. But you know, this whole thing of even selfies and taking pictures of your food. And I mean, we're designing the restaurant here for the Bougainvillea Hotel. One of the things we had to do was just put in big spaces for the male and female toilets, especially the female toilets, because apparently now it's where you go and take pictures and stuff like that. Yeah, and I see you guys all nodding. So, yeah. So I'm kind of like, well, why do you need to take a picture of your food every time? I mean, I'm just going to eat this food, so why do I need to take a picture of it? But those are sort of quirks and things that happen that were very unfamiliar to me when there was no. I mean, there was no computers around when I was growing up. I remember, I think I was, I don't know, in my 30s certainly, before there was kind of like word processors, which were like very low-powered computers that you could use. And I used to write letters. Can you imagine that? You know, you write letters and aerograms and send them back to Ireland, and you know, so even, you know, emails came. I mean, I remember emails being born. And now people always have the mobile phones, which are tremendously powerful computers, but their whole life is now related to that. Now, is that a good thing or is it a bad thing? Are we losing skills or are we gaining skills? You know, I don't know. I'd like to ask you guys that.
Okay, great. I just want to pack what he has said to guide your response, or you are...
No, please pack it.
Okay. I think what I'm hearing from you is you have observed, one, you've experienced the technological changes, computers coming, emails coming, and now you're seeing how it is for the youngest people in the world right now. And you're asking us how we are experiencing it. Is it good? Is it bad? How are we using it? Yeah. So I think that's
Okay, so I definitely remember a time when we had like the one camera at home, but it wasn't for taking pictures of food. Would use it to take pictures of like random things, moments, and it wasn't every day. It wasn't all the time because you had to buy the film and then
Yes.
developing it. It was a whole process. It
Kodak,
wasn't
yeah.
as easy as it is today. But with the changes in technology, I feel that it has become more relevant, or I have started to become aware of its capacity more recently since I left formal employment and now building companies. You know, you're the admin, the delivery coordinator, you're doing the finance, you're handling client relations, and then having all that sort of broken down into a third of what it would take for you to do because you have all these assistants maybe on your phone or your computer. Yeah. So for me,
That's through AI assistant.
yeah, the AI and assist. Yeah, I think now almost every app has some AI capabilities built into it that we can take advantage of. So that's my position today. I definitely feel that there is a bit of societal pressure to perform a certain way with social media, hence they're taking the pictures of the food and taking pictures in the toilet. Like, why? Really, yeah. But there's a bit of societal pressure. I'm not sure why we all feel like we must have some kind of digital footprint or we have to inform our audience of what we are doing and what we are eating and where we are.
Why is that?
I'm not certain. I don't know if it's because of the ease with which we are able to do it that now we are just doing it. I'm not sure why.
Just allow me jump in. I think when you mention that and why is that, I think it's because we are social animals, and the way the socializing happens changes with each age. And right now, the socializing is on social media.
But has this come to a point whereby people can't actually have a face-to-face conversation? I've heard of things like that, you know, where people actually have to go on their phone
To talk to that,
talk to the person
yeah,
who's sitting
people don't
beside
want even to do phone calls anymore.
No, they
It's like the socializing has changed, and from my standpoint, I think it's for the not for the good. I'm literally fighting to build a company to counter that. So I think it's because of socializing. The way we are socializing now has changed, and yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah. Calvin there. Uh-huh.
You know, they say the more things change, the more they remain the same. As you guys were talking about the socializing bit and all that, I wanted to hear from Doctor what it was like via socialization in your 20s, maybe from like 15 to your 20s, because you may discover that it's just the tools that are changing, but people still found a way, to be in moments and live in them way back. And now it's just the tools.
But you know, when I was 15 to 20, that sort of age group, and I was in Ireland at that point, the people I knew were my school friends. You know, there were people that you made. Okay, there was sort of lifelong bonds, but on the other hand, I lost touch with almost all of them. And I mean, I suppose it was a bit more of a lonely life because I lived in the country, you know, on a farm, and so to get to school or to get to some of my friends, I had to get on my bicycle and physically go. So you had probably more of an outdoor type of life. But I can't say that the relationships were any less. I mean, my impression is that people can have all these virtual relationships today, but you need friendships. You know, you need something with real people. And I don't know. I think some of those relationships that you make early in life, they can be very important, you know, as you go through life. So yeah, it's kind of thing. But are people less lonely today because of all the social things, or are the relationships about taking pictures and food and sharing moments and digitizing your whole life, you know, and having the digital footprint?
That data shows we are more lonely, but I'll allow Toliver. Then we finish Pauline's submission, and then we move.
Yeah, I think it's really more of trending culture, which in some way has been around for quite some time. You know, you spoke of writing mail. Gladly, I'm a millennial, so I wouldn't call myself among the young people. I'm not so young. So we would write letters to the girls in other schools and all that. So there was this moment in time when they would come and read out mail, whoever's received and who hasn't yet got it. And the guy that has the most mail is,
Ah, likes and retweets and followers.
more popular when you receive more mail. And I think even we would see it with TV and radio. If someone is going to show up on TV, they kind of get more respect in those days. But now it's a social media thing, and we have a lot of these algorithms going on. So you find that if something catches a lot of views, likes, and replies, and whatever happens, then the algorithm is going to encourage more people to do the same thing. So other than socializing, I think people are looking more towards being part of the algorithm. So I wouldn't say it is about socializing among ourselves, but more with the trend, the existing trend. And I think that's kind of breaking society a little bit.
Okay.
Do people really know what they want, or are they just being manipulated by social media and artificial intelligence? I had an interesting conversation with my 15-year-old, well, she's almost 16 now, grandchild, because I had read. We know the George Orwellian view of history. So that was that Big Brother will be watching you.
1984.
1984, and in fact we've seen a lot of that come through, because if you look at the Uyghurs in the Muslim group in China, I mean, they brought surveillance, facial recognition, all kinds of stuff to that. Now, a lot of that was done through Huawei, by the way, which is interesting. That's known. So there was a lot of there still is a lot of intense surveillance there. And that comes to the more Orwellian type of thing. Or Aldous Huxley, who was the opposite. He was like, well, no, in fact, you'll not be forced to do things. It's not that you're going to be in this repressive state. It's that you will, stuff is put in front of you which you enjoy, you want to do it. It's pleasurable. It's relaxing or whatever. So that's more the sort of social media side of things. So there was these two opposing views, whether it would be a repressive state or whether we'd be controlled through something else. And when I had the discussion with Tuli, she said, well, it's both, because we see the surveillance, and you see that particularly in authoritarian states, well, of course, North Korea and China and so on. But then you see the other way where we're being controlled and we don't even know that this wasn't our choice. This was something we got manipulated into. And that, I think, was particularly true with algorithms and Facebook, but even more true with artificial intelligence, where people are. And I think the divisions in the world have been. We saw it a lot with the split in America between Democrats and Republicans, and each perceiving the other as the devil incarnate, or the vaccine. The people who are anti-vaxxers or the people pro-vaxxers. So one would worry that Gen Zs are more could be more manipulated and don't know what the truth is or really what to think.
So I think the person who's going to give us an interesting response to this is Kenneth, because that is definitely his work. He's either manipulating or so let's finish your submission. You've kept that question? Yeah, I've kept it.
Oh, my submission has now evolved given all the new information.
Okay.
Finish it, then we move on. Yeah.
But yes, there was a mention about, are these virtual friendships and do we consider them real? Do you think that you actually have a real connection to someone that you're just messaging every day without having a face-to-face conversation with them? And when you talk about if it's breaking down society, I think change is definitely uncomfortable. We are experiencing new ways to experience humanity. And now I think my biggest problem is that it is now all at a distance. Your friends, you're just seeing them through the statuses. The people that you maybe once knew or you would meet every week, now it's just a hi every few months. And it has definitely made us a bit lazy to have like true interactions and put in the effort, because having relationships is very inconveniencing. You have to plan and put things aside, but technology makes it seem like you don't have to do all that. But when you don't do all that, then is it real? Are you actually connecting with these people? So I'm worried, but I'm excited, and I do not know how to reconcile all these emotions. I think technology has a lot to offer us, but it's causing changes that we are not in control of, and it's causing us to, whether we like it or not, the world is moving in that direction. So we all feel, many people feel, I think, that we have no agency we have to learn how to use these tools. We must like join the crowd in the march, because if you don't, then the whole world is moving in that direction.
I think the natural progression is for us to hear from Kenneth.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really want me to know this is something I've also been thinking about, but I've also been reading a little bit of history. And I think if you read European medieval history and read about feudalism, the idea that the crown gives the lords land and the lords employ people to work on the land and pay up the chain. I think that's the same thing that's basically happening. You know, if you think about how, say in Buganda, when this idea comes that, oh, you can actually own land, you know, it's not nomadic. You don't just live here when it's comfortable and move when it's not. You can actually own land as property, as part of you now. This is, I think, the same progression with attention, say, or maybe the mental space. Sort of feudalism is coming where for me to talk to you, I have to pass through Facebook. So Facebook owns some sort of real estate between our communication, and it's sort of going to go down the chains like that. So I rent a little bit with my app and so on and so forth. So for me, I think that's the way I think of it. That's a progression that's going to take. In the end, I mean, it's capitalism. Money has to be made. So yeah, I think in a nutshell, that's how for me I would think about it.
He mentioned something, I don't know if you've answered it, like, is it oppression, like coercion, or is it manipulation, like giving you something good and enjoy it, or?
Okay. So I also train spiritually quite a bit. So for me, oppression, depression, those things don't really have a lot of meaning for me. I think you tell your own story. You choose whether, you know, sitting here is oppressive for you. Or is it? Yes.
No, but I think there are societies that are oppressive. I mean, I think especially the authoritarian societies, yeah.
So yes, I think in terms of looking at society as a globe, you can analyze relatively and say, you know, living in maybe the Scandinavian countries is perhaps less oppressive than living in Uganda, right? Relatively. But for you as an individual, unless you have the means to change things, I think that is a I usually think of this as mental illnesses, right? For you yourself, it's supposed to be up to you to interpret your story and see how you fit within the world you have, because in the end, you almost have no option, right? You have to work out of, say, an oppressive state. You can't work out of it when it is cluttering your mind, when the only thing you think about is oppression. I'm going to give one example and then I'll leave the mic guys. So yesterday we were talking with a friend about a new film coming out from Palestine called Palestine 36. And it's a very good film about the history of there was, I think they call it the Akbar, about the settlements in 1936. And I didn't like the film because it doesn't empower at the end. So it shows how these bad people come and they do bad things and in the end they win, right? And it's a very hopeless film. And I was telling him that there is a way to write this film about just one kid who, even if all these things are happening, who finds meaning within them and then they are pride. You know, it's sort of like an uplifting film. And the writer chose to tell a film that's going to make people hopeless or not, right? And the way I think about sort of oppression and whatnot. Again, this is very spiritual. It will be a long conversation, but as long as you stay away from hate of any kind, you cannot be oppressed. You know, as long as I don't want to bring disaster. No, but that is where it goes, right? It goes to as long as you try so much to not indulge in stories that encourage hate, you as an individual cannot be oppressed. That is, I think, a lot.
Oh, that's something that we can go down the rabbit hole for a while.
But I think Kenneth mentioned feudalism, and certainly there in terms of and you mentioned it in relation to if you want to achieve something now, you basically have to pay some rent, which was the feudalistic society. You paid. The peasants paid rent to the landlords, or whether it was with their labour or what, and we've kind of returned to that because the space we rent now is attention, and the big, whether it's Google or the AI companies now, and of course the bigger companies have all adopted AI. So we basically, whether it's marketing or financial skills or whatever, we're all renting. We're now in this rental economy, so that feudalism has come down. But anyway, it's a sort of a philosophical point. But I think I would like to come back to my grandchild's question, which was, do we make decisions for ourselves, or are we just so influenced? This AI is so clever, the algorithms are so smart, they know us. I mean, I have Apple Music on my phone. And now it has and I'm really very untechy, but now I see I've got Ian's radio station and Ian's whatever, and it's picked up what I've listened to over a period of time and then put it all together. And it's sort of my taste in music. So how much am I being manipulated and how much is this convenient? And it's a good question because, we stop having to think, like reading maps. I mean, you had to sort of, where am I going? So now you just go punch in your destination and in Google Maps and follow it, and hopefully in Uganda it takes you the right way. Yeah. So how much are we being manipulated? And how much is that getting worse with younger people? And how much are we? The question is, we know what we know. We maybe know what we don't know, but then there's this area where we don't know what we don't know. Yeah.
I would like to start from Caesar.
Allow me to take it a little bit back. I really like this conversation because it's getting me back to something I once thought of. I remember a few years ago I used to have a lot of social media, Facebook, Instagram, and then I had to declutter some of that because of the sentiments I had about your digital footprint and all that. And it brings me to the question of right now, as we speak, yes, some of these behaviors of someone taking a photo of the food they're eating, like those things that we may think as,
as normal.
As normal, as trends. And much as some of them are so much extreme, sometimes it's a behavior that sometimes is very unnecessary. But we need to also look at it in the positive light that in the angle of a logarithm, someone seeing stuff, that is how, because there are actually people that have benefited through posting that funny stuff, then they get traction, and over that, then they monetize. Okay. Then when it comes to the angle of whether we are being manipulated or not, and maybe trying to be sensitive about the information and all that. To be honest, I don't want to say it, but I'll say it. Is there anything we can really do about information in this stage? Because I believe there is so much information that those platforms, Facebook, have that we don't know. Actually, the information we withhold away from them, they have more of it than we know. You get my point? Now, for example, if they saw the things they post of food and stuff like that, that's very petty, honestly. The most sensitive things are where am I moving, what am I like. They have that real sensitive information that we may not really get a hold of. And I'll get to his point of if we actually really focus on the negative, we lose the whole point of it. Because ideally, for me, in my thinking, is some of these things are wrong. Someone does all this wrong stuff, but through doing all this wrong stuff, over posting, editing, there is someone out there that is learning how to edit photos using the iPhone, and eventually they become a digital designer. That's if you look at most of the social media influencers, they've actually become influencers through doing some of those things.
But my question, Caesar, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because the social influencers, the ones we know in Uganda, they're making some money for sure.
Yes, sure.
But then for each one of those who is making money out of it, there must be tens of thousands of people who are posting pictures of their food. And
Isn't that the same for every profession? Out of 100,000 doctors making a decent living, like how many are actually making a decent living and having a good career? How many teachers out of 100,000 teachers?
but okay,
I think it's a little different, and this is how I think about it. I'll think about from the point of the economics. You guys will correct me. If someone is a doctor or if someone is a teacher, and there is only one of 10,000 that is, let's say, flourishing like very, very well, those others who are not are still contributing to livelihoods.
they're still making a living.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
might
are still
not be
making a
top
living,
doctors,
and they're
but-
contributing to livelihoods. They're contributing to livelihoods. But with social media, all the other people who are not earning from it, the only person benefiting is Google and X, and like they're not I don't know how to say it.
I understand.
Yeah.
To me, Pauline, it's like gambling. Yeah, you have all these betting shops which are clustered around where the Boda stages are. So they're like sports betting, and you can win, and every so often someone comes up wins something, but the vast majority of the people who spend their time spending their money are just going to lose it to the betting shops. And I think, to me, this whole thing where someone they're just trying to expand their digital footprint and so on is because one person, like how many Sheila Garsumbas are there? Like with like 1 million followers or something like that. I know, very, very small number. So to me, that whole thing, as you say, the people who are making money from it really are Google. The people who are making money from the punters are the betting shops. So is that the sort of economy we've moved into now? But I think that's quite different from somebody trains as a doctor. Even if they don't become very successful, hopefully they'll contribute to humanity and they'll do a good job. And it's a different, and they have to go through a certain training to do that as well.
But then the other point would be the compound interest of doing things. If you do a business, Calvin will tell us, if you do a business and it fails, you leave with lessons, networks, maybe some assets, or you get, and then when you go to the next one, you can pick up from there. But and that's like terms of time and resources you've put into this business. But now, if you choose to grow your social media following, let's say it's part of your to-do list, and then you act, because that's what it is, I think. Because if you see those videos that people put on Instagram and of like maybe from a trip or they are today, or it's work, I think. I would imagine it takes work. Yeah. But so it's like, what do you carry forward in case the social media thing like that? Like, what do you carry forward that can impact the next thing that you do or something? Yeah. Maybe it's in between.
Can
Yeah.
Okay, so the first thing you said about, is it harmful, is it good or bad?
Yes.
It depends on where we have lived or what we have done. So, if someone grew up seeing the war I don't know if that's a nice example. Someone that has seen the war or transition from the leaders of our country, the president and whoever, just kind of living, they hold a bit of trauma, they hold a bit of fear, they hold a bit of being cautious that anything could happen. I won't have to disclose my location. What if our president changes? No, don't change the president. I'm not doing the political side of it, but I'm just trying to say that if someone is born in a more stable country, the way they see things is different.
Different, yeah.
They're going to wake up and tamper with something like, no, we shouldn't be doing it this way. The children should go to school from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Then you're like, please don't. Because you understand, like, you have lived something different. These children have found something stable and they're going to move with it. So it's the same with social media, like AI and everything, that someone has. The older generation, they had a time with no internet, no computer, walking to an internet cafe, using a very big computer, it's heating up, you have to wait for days to get your photograph and stuff like that. Then now the younger people have, they can just get the phone, take a picture, edit it a bit, post it, print it if they feel like, and firm it up. So there is ease in this generation than the old one. So the ease of this generation is, it's at a point whereby they're not cautious. It's having both the good and the bad, but I feel like it is to a large extent bad. And it goes back to the people, the older generation, teaching this younger generation how to use AI and everything, because information is available. You could even ask, let me say, which AI tool is available, ChatGPT. How do I reply my parent? I want to ask them for ABCD. But back then, you would think I'm going to make them a cup of tea, speak to them nicely, then bring my bicycle or something. But then this younger generation is going to say, manipulate my parent if I say ABCD, and they will reply. You understand? So they're losing the art of thinking and everything. But it's because that is what they have woken up to. They can just access a phone, they know how to press it, but they need to also be taught that actually it's to a certain extent, or you can actually show the public social media, the pictures. You could choose to only post you could choose to only post books that you're reading. You could choose to post only when you're at church. You can choose something, but not everything you get, because the more you expose, of course, you're giving people what to target.
As far as I know, many of the titans of the social media industry are very careful about the amount of screen time that their children have on the phone. And which tells you something. These very people who are making the money out of everybody using that social media are the ones who feel it's dangerous in terms of how their children will grow up. So I think there is, another thing from what you said, Desire, is you said, look, if you're old, you've experienced certain conditions which young people haven't experienced. It can make you think a certain way and be cautious. But then, of course, it's also like, all the generations, like my grandmother would say, oh, well, when we went to school, we didn't have any shoes, We went to school, we didn't have a raincoat, we just put a sack over our heads, and you're like, yeah, yada, that sort of thing. So there's this sort of, there is the older generation, yes, we have input, but also there's the adjustment to the life. But I suppose my question is it sliding the wrong direction? Is what we're experiencing today? Look, in my time, I was just thinking, I had cancer, and this isn't to do with IT, but just to do with progress and things that have happened. But if I had cancer twice, and if I hadn't got it when there was certain drugs available, I would have died. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, because I saw many people die from that cancer, and it was only that there was certain chemotherapy that it responded to. And I've been thinking of a bunch of other stuff, that has happened in my life. And if I'd lived in another generation, I wouldn't even be here, because of progress, particularly in I can't even think what the examples, in modern medicine, So we get a lot of benefits and convenience from the digital economy and now AI, but it's moving so fast at the present time. I mean, we're up the hockey stick in terms of the exponential growth of AI. Yeah, so where is it going? Should I really be worried about my grandchildren? Should I be worried about you guys?
So
Dolly,
I think
like
yeah,
50-50.
yeah. I think let's get a minute. Then we shall listen from Toliver, and I wanted to get your perspective on this, but also your perspective as someone who has been at the back end building these AIs. Yeah. So Kenneth.
Okay. So I wanted to, for me, I think the best way to look at this also is in terms of scale. There is no way to keep a society together without a form of manipulation. So, you know, you grew up with your parents and they manipulate you to keep you within the image they imagine for you, right? And when the society scales, you go to school, caning is also a form of manipulation, sort of to keep you within scale. And if you look at, you know, the nation state, for example, I think has been sort of the peak of that kind of social order. But now we are seeing that the tech firms are taking over from the nation state and they're sort of in charge of how we organize the globe. And with the larger the scale, the technology has to be different. I would say this is much better. Before, if you wanted to change order within nation state, it means going to war, right? It means civil unrest and stuff like that. But if you don't like what Google is doing, there's actually a chance that you can build something. Right now, it's hard that you can compete with Google, but you can build something that Google can acquire and it changes how Google works, right? So right now, you still have it requires a little bit of intelligence, but you still have a better option to change social order from your own imagination. I think for me, that's how I think about it, that as scale changes, the way we get manipulated also changes.
I think that's esoteric. I think it's esoteric because when I look at, I mean, is there more violence in the world now than there was? Well, we just had a man who just launched a war against the Iranians, you know, much known as, you know, they weren't friends, obviously, but, and it seemed to be on the whim of one man, or two men, the Netanyahu and Trump, you know, so, and we have all those tools that you're talking at our fingertips, yet still there's a lot of violence, and the violence is catastrophic using those sort of modern day things. But anyway, just a thought.
Yeah. I still think that. So there's a book. I don't like it very much, but to have about it, there's a book by Steven Pinker called "The Better Angels of Our Nature."
Yeah, I think I read it.
Yeah, and it's, you know, he shows with some graphs how violence is changing. And okay, he's attributing it to democracy and whatnot. But personally, I think it's just the scale. The bigger the population, the more available human intelligence we have, and the more we are going to figure out how to live together. And wars are going to happen because most of these wars that are happening, especially the Iran war, I think they have a history. You know, I think in 96, most people predict that will happen still. But are there going to be new wars? You know, is just, for example, in Uganda, will the government in Uganda change because of war? I think that's extremely unlikely, right? But if you wanted to change social order, you can actually change Google. Okay, that's how I think about it. The option is now closer to you if you have a good imagination on where you want social order to go. I think the problem with, say, for example, the manipulation we get in school is we are waiting for instructions. Most people, especially the people I interact with, are waiting to be told, this is the next thing to do, this is the next thing to do. But right now, if you want to change things, you have to be sort of the leader. You have to be the one to think about where do I want to take the world. And then from there, you can start making moves.
I think it's always been like that. It's people have had to always imagine to and then take steps to change the world.
I can't honestly think that that's better that you have these tech titans who have more influence. Because I mean, you and I won't make much difference by being acquired by Google, even if we had some to sell to them. But when you take Eric Schmidt or you take Elon Musk or any of these guys or Mark Zuckerberg, I mean, they have tremendous influence on the world systems. But I don't know whether it's for good. You know, I don't know it's for good. I mean, like if you take Mark Zuckerberg's thing, we're going to create global communities, or we're going to bring everybody together, and you said there's more loneliness now. because that's a very innocent thing. But I mean, this thing now, a lot of these abilities now go into to making militaries more powerful and more automated and war easier. And the big, they what do they call it? The military industrial complex. I mean, the influence that these guys have on governments, and particularly in America and China, is pretty scary. It's pretty scary, really. Anyway, I think that's off the subject, really. So, Tolliver, I think.
I want to just take note that we have given a lot of focus on the technology that is social media and information, but there is another side of all this. So maybe the second half of this conversation, I'll try to.
Okay.
I think I'll first start by borrowing an idea from the concept of confirmatory bias. So it's that normally when you're getting into a conversation and you need information, there is something you already have in mind. And if you go to look for that information, then you're going to pay more attention to that particular piece of information. I think that is how the tools, the tech tools currently are taking control of us. And for mostly the younger generation, you'll find that across the different platforms, you'll look for, let's say, if it's something to do with your parents, you want to manipulate your parents, then the algorithm is going to focus specifically on that. It's just business for these guys, for the titans, like you mentioned. For them, it's just business, just to ensure the engagement. I mean, most of these titans are now using the TikTok model, where they just give you small bits of information. So you'll find yourself watching 1 minute videos, and you spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and yet you can't spend maybe 2 hours or 1.5 hours watching a more organized and informative video. Now, the younger generation is getting a lot of information from these small bits of snippets of content. I think that's the word, content. So this is what kind of tunes them, at least in my opinion. And I think the danger is in what they have before they go out looking for this information. Because if they are more prepared for what they are going to find on these platforms, then they'll be able to manage it a little bit more. So I would stand with the team that is for the technologies in that particular sense. Regarding how far AI.
Sorry, Tolliver, but then how do you prepare young people's minds to be able to deal with that?
Yeah, so one of the ways that I think we could do it is not to stop them from it. We have a lot of hype and talk against AI. Now, in the past, I think everyone knows here that the more what they call them demerit goods, the more you speak against something, the higher the chance that people will want to adopt it. So I think if we prepare this younger generation to take on AI as tools for advancement, and then we teach them to critique it rather than get the information from it. So if they learn to, because the definition of AI that exists right now is hidden from a lot of people. It's just a game of probability. There is a collection of information, and when you make a request, you get the most likely response to your request. So many people don't know that that is just information from a bunch of people. They think it is new. But if we get these younger people to know that that is what they're using, these are the AI tools that they're using, then they'll probably get more comfortable to critique what the AI brings. And I think they'll have a little bit more control of how they perceive this information. Then regarding how dangerous AI could get, or how advanced AI could get, I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I think now it's just it may be a bubble of sorts. There is so much improvement that now we are seeing between the different models. For example, between GPT-4 and GPT-5, there is so minimal an improvement that the most they can do is tell you, we're allowing AI to use this tool, we're allowing AI to use this tool. There is not much, I think, that we are going to add on to AI, and unless we begin to use it more efficiently in physical devices. But as what we know right now, the generative tools
The substance of what the AI is.
I don't think we should be really afraid of what it's capable of. If there's anything to be afraid of, it's maybe the business, because at some point, if you look at it, I think AI is just the hype. When a new model is unveiled, the amount of hype that is put within the media, which kind of brings us back to the control, the amount of hype that is put in within the media is what drives the usage of that model. But then if you compare the performance of these models, I would put my feet down and tell you that GPT-4 was better than GPT-5, which is why many people moved from using ChatGPT to Claude. Yeah, because the more you train a model, the more it gets saturated with a lot of information, and it ends up giving you meaningless responses. So I think we should be more afraid of the business direction than the technological advancement that these AI tools are bringing forward.
I think, and maybe I'm just coming from my own generational point of view. You know, I would disagree in the sense that AI and large language models and stuff like that, and I mean a lot of AI is large language model based, and just fitting in more data. It's not really understood. I mean, we know the principles of how it kind of generates the next, what do they call, coupon, or the next word in the sentence and stuff. And as you put it, yeah, it's the balance of probabilities of all the information that it's gone through. But I think it is dangerous, and I think there is a point at which AI, and certainly in the narrow sense of intelligence, AI is now way ahead of human beings in certain narrow spheres. In terms of this thing of artificial general intelligence, I mean, I think people think it's getting there. Maybe it's even reached there, I don't know. But then there's artificial superintelligence. And the fact of the matter is we don't even know how it actually, it's more something that's grown than something that we can explain. I mean, you can't ask an AI, these guys who are feeding in the information and building more and more powerful AIs, it's, you know, you can't ask them, well, how did it arrive there? They don't know. That's my information. Am I talking nonsense, or is this true?
Like that thing of we are not creating the AIs; they are growing.
They're growing, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You've heard of it?
Yeah. Yeah, so we're not creating them, they're growing.
So therefore we don't have control of it. There's going to be a point at which it overtakes us.
No, that is true, but then the thing is they still need orchestration.
Yeah.
Yeah, they still need orchestration, and so
Orchestration is getting them to do something. Someone has to prompt it, then it does. It doesn't do on its own accord.
even when they are training, there is someone that has to watch them, because now AI is training itself.
Yeah, that's it.
So it's using its own information.
Do you not find that scary?
I don't find that scary.
Oh.
Because I find it's a limitation, because we'll have to consistently feed it additional information in order for it to reach where we are. I mean, I would think of it this way. Take, for example, a beehive. If you get a single bee and you isolate it from the hive, there's nothing it's going to do. It becomes useless. But then if you look at the entire hive, it could take down an entire pack of hunters if they decided to do it. So I think if we are to manage AI, we need to think of ourselves as a collective, as humans. If we keep on isolating ourselves and create a new divide of people who have access to AI, people who have access to this tool, or my cloud is a premium version and David has not yet paid for his cloud. There is a divide between us, and I am essentially more powerful than David because I have more access to it.
Yeah.
But if we're to look at ourselves as a collective, as humans, I don't think.
Yeah, but the problem is we're very, very far from being a collective as humans at the present time, and it is actually the tech titans who are a lot more equal. You know, in this world, we're all equal, but some are more equal than others. You know, and those guys with the resources are more powerful. And I think, Pauline, you mentioned earlier, you know, the crowd is going this way. We need to get with it. This is true to an extent. But the lemmings just all go over the cliff. So I mean, I feel that there's more danger in this unregulated rush into larger and larger models and more energy put into AI. I think that's a dangerous trend because the very people who are warning against it, such as Elon Musk and Sam Altman and so on, are the very people who are now like really competing to go as fast as they can. And where is the tipping point? I mean, in as much as I've read, I think there is a point at which if certain forces in AI come together, you will have artificial superintelligence. And no, that's like all the, you know.
I think it's theoretical. It's in a calculation that is still a bit far.
Anyway, that's not we're
Yeah.
off on a tangent, David. So bring us back to
We'll listen to you, then we'll get to this side of the table as we.
So I think also maybe if we look at the actual work being done, a lot of progress is done in the language field, and I think that's why everyone is glad. But they're trying to do AI for proteins, they're trying to do AI for a lot of other things that's not language, where a lot of the success is high. Yeah, where a lot of the success is not really success. So there's not a lot of progress going outside the language. But also today with say cloud, I think what you can build with the ability to just manipulate language, not going down into the bits, with the ability to say, for example, one of the things we do is writing with AI for us, right? And we figured out a framework which we call the atomic part. So if you want to write a sentence, rather if you want to write a paragraph, can you ask AI to first go down, sort of factor thinking, to go down and write the sentence first, and then write a meaningful statement, like multiple sentences are meaningful, and then build on top of that, on top of that, on top of that. And that is automation that has to be human-made, right? I don't think there's going to be, okay, maybe they will, but that's again, like, find the future. There'll be AI to automate the application of language. Perfect. So the best way to think about this is, how is the world made, right? Is the world made of information, or is the world made of people's desires? Yeah? If you look at this table, the atoms, in terms of physics, the atoms that can make up this table could make up anything else. But the reason they are converted into just this table is because someone desired it to be, right? And that's the same thing with information. Information is, in its natural state, is entropy. It has to require someone's desire, Yes. And right now, our highest form of manifesting that desire is through language. In terms of computing, can you describe to the AI something you actually want and have it build it, right? Can you create a framework that can automate something that grows, if you want to build something dynamic? And I think that is still leaving the power within our own hands rather than, I think we're worrying about the bits. I also was a little bit worried about how the bits and the matrices work, but there's a limit now because nothing else is making as much progress as language. And there's a lot of stuff that you can build by just being able to manipulate language. I don't know if that makes sense.
I thank you.
Okay, great.
Well, like I had said, I think I'll think of it from a social science bit of it. What doctor was worried about his grandchildren. I think where we are going is we are going to get more shallow people in the coming years. Why? Yes,
pretty bad.
You see the conversation that we are having here. We are picking it off our heads. You know, we are thinking, we are struggling to think, and AI has made many people stop thinking. I introduced AI.
We're back to Aldous Huxley again, the easy way. There.
You see, I introduced AI to my dad. He's 50 something, almost middle 50, 55, thereabout. He's a guy who used to sit down, write many pages of things, of letters he wants to write to people, to what, or things he has to discuss. Then after writing all that down with counseling and everything, he brings a computer and starts typing it. Then one day I asked him, but why do you take a full day to, just put up a piece? Just prompt AI. That's when ChatGPT had come. He started. Wow. The man thinks less nowadays.
How are you measuring that?
Get his fault.
It's your fault. Big Dad is the best.
So no, I'm thinking of it in terms of the younger ones, Because of this information overload, partly in my life, I went and studied code. But I don't need to code anymore. I don't need to know what HTML or CSS was. All I have to do is actually just go to my PC, type in anything, any AI that can build a site for me, and then just read how do they do this, which payments and everything, and I'm just commanding things. So I think in the coming years, we are going to get a lot of shadow people. Now, back to your worries. Is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Personally, that's by definition a bad thing to me.
It's a bad thing.
But then when we go to efficiency and productivity, I think it's a good thing.
To me, that's different. If you could combine the good things over the efficiency and the productivity, which I see with David. Let me tell you that my what is it? My alliance with David, over the past, it's a year and a bit now probably. David has made me very much more productive. And there's so much that we do. He does it actually, but I can come up with the idea. And I think anything that at my stage in life, anything for all of us, anything that can amplify us, in a good way, whether it's in financial analysis or project proposals or a lot of things. These things is good. Like if I think about that proposal, we made a proposal. Someone came to us, and they had a hospital, and they really honestly had really messed it up long before we came, and then they came because they knew of me, and they said, can you give us some advice how to fix this? And we looked at it, and we actually gave them a proposal back. And then they kind of said, no, we don't want that. I don't know what they wanted really, but we could have used tools, their AI tools, and different things to help us in terms of the analysis of their issues to be that much more effective in terms of. So in other words, you're taking my experience of. And I could see right away, to me, it was a difficult nut to crack because they'd already made all the mistakes. You know how people come to you after they've really buggered it up themselves, and then they want you to fix it. So I could see. So if you take the experience I had plus the AI tools and stuff that he and Marion, another doctor, could use, that can be a very, very effective. We can be very effective on that. So sorry, but that's the good of AI. But then if it may, so in terms of efficiency and amplification of stuff that I couldn't do myself. But
I think for me, my only worry is what if one day we wake up and these tools have been pulled?
then you're in trouble.
That's where now the problem is going to come from. it happens to me when I'm trying to use AI. I try to think, what if I wake up and there's a time I was over reading about cloud, and she's in finance things, and I saying, you try it. Everyone is saying it's good with Excel and all that. Then when they run more stats, I start seeing a lot of people posting, I think the cloud servers were blown or what. It's now slow. It's giving vague things, and in my head I was like, whoa. Now imagine you've put in all your work and all your brain, and you're working with this tool, and the owner is just like, nah.
But that's what, sorry, that's what I think. I mean, sorry, you're stimulating me in terms of this conversation. That's where I think we also need to have certain skills that we keep, like reading books. Not just being able to get small snippets of information on TikTok, having that skill to be able to read, which I think a lot of the younger generation have lost. And actually, it was never a good reading culture here in Uganda. But David does a lot of AI, but he does a lot of reading. And I think, my personality is kind of, I would probably have that ADHD thing, where you're attention hyperactive, things. But at least one thing that I have learned through the process of discipline is then also to persist and set goals for myself. And, so I don't just, I may be hyperactive, but I'll try to keep that focused into something. And that discipline, if we're losing that, or if we never had it to start, then I think is a problem. Because as you say, then you're just dependent on the tools. Somebody can generate a piece of writing through AI, but it's not going to have, that's not going to be Ian Clark's writing. I never use AI in writing. Because I want my own voice in it, my own passion, my own feelings coming through. Sorry, Pauline. Yeah, Pauline.
Yes, because I feel as we talk about the evolution of technology and AI, we have tried to cover, she mentioned something about how now photographs don't take long, all these things that technology can assist us with, they're sort of ready within minutes or hours or days. From where I stand, I feel that humanity is going to have, in a certain period of time, no choice but to revert back to things that take time to build. We are going to get sick of perfection, and we are going to get sick of quick fixes. And with time, someone is going to say, no, I don't want. Okay, not with time. I think I experienced it today through one of my businesses. There are people who could go to a large supermarket chain and buy a birthday cake off the shelf. But there are customers who come to me and say, no, I know you have a 2-week notice period. I know this is going to take time. I know you make it in your kitchen. I know it will not look like a machine just pushed it out and it will be perfect. So I feel the arts are definitely going to have more relevance. They may have been like I don't say that they were the first to get affected, but there's so much that you could go to China and get this table done within minutes, but there's still an appreciation, and I think it's going to grow. For a carpenter who will say, no, it's going to take me
It's
a month.
authenticity.
Yes. Even with the writing, we were discussing this, how you see so much AI jargon on the internet. It's getting it's too much.
It can learn how you write.
But it cannot, can it learn emotion?
No, not the emotion. But yeah, it can learn how you write.
What it gives you.
Because if I look at my dad's letters then and now, they're the same things. Because, okay, he takes time after it has prompted and done something for him. Then he comes back and it's like he's rewriting. It helps him with the speed.
Many people are just getting whatever is output and sending it out. Yes. I think that's because we may feel that we are losing our hold on the things that matter. Even when it comes to relationships, people are going to seek community. People are going to seek spaces where no phones are allowed, no pictures, no social media, anything. I think with time, because the rate at which the changes are happening is very fast, we are going to have to make decisions like that. Even with schools, we are going to choose schools that say they have a no phone policy during school hours.
So
Yes.
So we're around the table here with a bunch of brilliant young people, and you've all got actually quite a bit of experience as well with digital technology and AI. It seems like all of you, in fact. But I want you to now give my 16-year-old grandchild some advice. Okay?
As we close up.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I want to go around the table and I want you all to say, if that was your little sister, yeah, what would you say to her in terms of the world today and what should she be?
I think we start from this side.
Okay. We're going to start with Desire.
Is it a girl, a boy?
Yeah, she's a girl.
Okay, now that's like.
And she lives in Africa. She actually lives in South Africa. She's mixed race.
She's 16.
She's 16.
That's my ancestor, actually.
Yeah. So actually, what I would tell them is everything that is available is a tool. You should use it, it should not use you. Starting from your phone, that if you wake up, please have some time to yourself. How is my day going to be? What am I going to do? Just don't rush to your phone, because if you rush to your phone, you're letting the phone lead you or be your god. Even everything you do, just you have to lead it. It should not lead you. Be it a conversation, you don't have to prompt AI on how to speak to someone. You don't have to prompt AI on how to dress. Think through it. I'm going for a meeting. How should I look like? And let it be done. Money, even if it is money is a tool you use to ease your life. You shouldn't let money rule you, that you have to do certain things you wouldn't want to do. You have to eat what you wouldn't want, or you have to do things the way you don't want because of money, or because of AI, or because of internet, or because of social media. You have to use them, they shouldn't use you. And goes back to them mastering it.
Okay.
Well, I will start with something the outgoing Lord Mayor. One time he was being interviewed and asked about his usage of WhatsApp back then. And he said he can't imagine himself laughing while, through typing. Ha 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 ha. And I keep thinking, I would love to know what he thinks now if he still doesn't laugh on the phone because times have changed. Anyway, for the 16-year-old, I think, like Desire said, for me, I would tell her to take advantage of the things, let them not rule her, let her rule them, and use all this information that used to take us ages to get troubled, to get to a benefit. Of course, the elder people around her, the older people around her have to guide her. When you're young at that age, you're volatile. You're interested in fashion. You're interested in many other things. That's where that's the knowledge you want to pick. It's like way back when for us we had no smartphones. It was TV. You would go to the TV that is showing music, movies and all that. You wouldn't go to the CNNs and all that. So it's about those who are older than us to, guide these children, to point them to the right information and help them use it. I think that's just about it.
Yeah, so I think for me there are three things, because I have two kids myself. The older one is 4 and the younger one is 2. Very noisy. But I think that for me there are three things that I'm encouraging them. One is computers don't yet have a skin, so they don't have a sense of taste, rather sense of touch, right? So if you have intelligence in touch, that is taste included, smell included, you probably have an edge, so you can maybe build a robot that can massage people and they feel good and remotely or whatever. But so there's going to be that edge there that hasn't yet, it's very hard to scale, the sense of touch because there's no skin. The other thing is wisdom over instructions. So I think before we start to scale up education, most people were being trained through spiritual practices, which is mindfulness, pattern recognition, basically wisdom, insight, picking up on insights and whatever that, mostly the spiritual practices usually teach wisdom. And then school comes to sort of get you to memorize instructions because they're preparing you to go and work in a factory after the Industrial Revolution. And I think today we have to go back. I don't know the next thing, but I think wisdom is more valuable because it's a bit timeless. If you pick up on patterns, how things change, rather than picking up on instructions, you probably will survive. So yeah, for the 16-year-old specifically, I would ask them to learn about agents. So right now, there's a layer on top of the LLMs of building agents or automating the language. I think that is going to stay for a bit. That's going to be the mode, basically, in terms of learning technology.
Yeah. I feel like if I give any advice against the use of AI, it's I mean, I have a relationship with the field of AI, so I don't know what I can say. Yeah, there's a bit of conflict of interest, but in all, the fact is, I'd advise them to understand the concept before they get into using AI. We've had it with a few of our interns that have passed through us at the office, that they will come in and use AI all through. But then if you take them just a step back to look at the concept, if it is medicine, you go down and look at the concepts of medicine. If it is architecture, you need to understand why this beam is this maybe 2 meters away from the next beam before you get AI to tell you that it's 2 meters. If you're constructing maybe software, you need to actually understand how stacks combine with each other. You need to understand several concepts before you.
So you're just talking about an inquiring mind, do you not?
Yeah.
Having an inquiring
Exactly.
mind,
Yes.
not just going to.
Yes, they need to get information from other sources and use AI to put this information together. Yeah, that's all.
Interesting. Yeah. Caesar?
Interesting to speak up after these people have spoken. But it's pretty much in the same direction. I would tell them to explore, to keep exploring with the AI, because still with AI there's vast knowledge and it's putting it in one place. But perhaps dive to the depth, not be happy with the surface of what it actually gives you, like probe it further, and also to further seek guidance of the people that have gone ahead of you in that industry, because AI cannot substitute the experience of the people that have gone ahead of you in that industry. For example,
Caesar, if I could just sort of interrupt, because most of you have focused in, you started off by saying, make your own choices and, don't just be manipulated, but then you all sort of zeroed in on a bit of AI kind of thing. But in today's world, it's not just AI, it's digital technology, it's social media, it's marketing and manipulation through all the stuff around you, which all of that stuff is coming in on people, and it's having all of that just, but because quite a few 16-year-olds, maybe not so much into AI, but they're certainly hugely influenced by the digital economy.
It's a streaming world.
Yeah. So sorry, to continue with your AI, but think a bit broader as well.
yes, obviously, in the broader sense, even let's say Snapchat, let's say social media, you get my point. There's much to just posting. You get my point. What are the posting times? If I'm looking for this audience, who are the people in this space? In doing something and trying to go a little bit deeper in knowing why or what am I doing, you guide yourself and not be taken up by the flickers that AI will give you. Now, for example, let me say reporting or in the spaces we're in. If anybody now, for example, is that when you actually got onto the AI the first time, you should have been very excited. Now, if you let the excitement take you up at that point and you stay at that point, you don't wake up. So my advice to the 16 would be, if you actually get into something that excites you, try to dive much deeper into it, and then in that you actually get direction, and you know what, because in any AI or social media, anything that you actually dive deeper into, you will know that actually there is more of what you have to give it to direct it than when you've just.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, Pauline.
Okay. I would say two things. One, you're not too young to start a business. Start a business and experience what it means to build something. The second thing I would say, start as many businesses. don't be restricted to one. Start as many businesses. Follow your heart, follow your interests, and pick as many lessons. Do not be discontent when it fails, because many businesses fail. The question is, can you pick back up? And I think that's the value in failure, because the failure is a sieve. The people who fail and they stay down are the ones that don't make it. They don't go ahead to build $1 million businesses. The people who fail and keep going to the next thing, learn what they were supposed to learn, they're the guys who take over the world. Number 2 is read as many books as you can. Read and read and read and read and enjoy reading. Enjoy long form content. Enjoy hours away from your phone, away from the TV. Enjoy isolation. Enjoy the introspection that reading brings you, the other worlds that it will take you to. I think all the secrets of this world are in books, because people don't want to read them, so no one ever finds out about them. But yeah, just read as many books as you can and start as many businesses.
Okay.
Something small before. Back in 2012, I was in my Form 6 work. So my mom tells me to apply for jobs. Now, as I do, someone tells me something about writing a CV, and they're like, it's actually interesting. If you have proficiency in using Google, the people going to employ you would be interested in you. Because Google was there as a tool for searching all this information. But the thing is, people actually didn't know how to search for information. Yeah. And I think it's the same. It's been in my mind as people are talking. It's the same with AI. If you don't know how to use AI, it's going to give you everything wrong. So the young ones, or each of us here on this table, just needs to know, how do we use these tools?
Yeah.
And it could be to our benefit.
Yeah.
Great. So interesting for me, I'm writing a book, and last week I was thinking about the audience, and I think my audience is your granddaughter. And the title right now is Own Your Education. And that would be my message to her. Own your education. Why? Because between 16 and let's say 32, that is when you are learning what will be you. Like what you are right now is mostly things you learned during that age. So you want to own your education so much. And the chapter that I'm on right now is what's the most important thing to learn if you're to own your education. And right now what I'm writing, my conviction is the most important thing to learn is how the world works. Because if you know,
big subject.
it's deep, but if whatever you do is try to learn how the world works. If it's social media, know how it works. Because if you know how social media works, how it's created, if you know what it works, what's good, what's bad, AI, what's good, what's bad. If you know how cars work, what's good, what's bad, or how rockets work, it's really understanding how the world works, leave alone the technology, even people. Yeah, if you know how people work, that there is the people like desires or these things, like how to work with people. It would be my key message. Learn how the world works. And how do you do that? Books, traveling, meeting people, listening to people, trying out to use the tools. I think anyone who learns how the world works is exceptional.
It's an inquiring mind.
Yeah, an inquiring mind.
I think that's why schooling in Uganda is not generally very good, because it's been very much didactic learning. From repeat after me to learn these things, and yet what we need is a mind that just is questioning the whole time. I mean, when you look at I was just in Florence recently, and so the Renaissance around Florence and Milan and so on. These guys, Michelangelo and anyway, those Leonardo da Vinci and so on. My goodness, those guys just delved into everything. I mean, Da Vinci, everything from human anatomy to engineering to architecture to painting to perspectives. He was an incredible genius, but it all came from that he just would look at everything and have that inquiring mind. And I think I was saying to her, because do you remember Malthus? Malthus basically, I think Malthusian theory is that we were going to run out of food because we weren't producing enough. And he was wrong because then we got fertilizers and we got technology, So a pessimistic view of the world, you're probably right, Kenneth. We should maintain optimism. But sometimes if you think about those are philosophical views, and if you learn it in a sort of academic way, it can be very dead. But if you really then understand, some stuff about philosophy, if you understand stuff about world order, like we're going through a very tricky period in world order at the present stage, because we're going from when we had something that was fairly rules-based to now something that's just the strong man, every man for himself. And, if you understand about trade, this is, Museveni is not wrong in saying that we're exporting raw materials and we should be like doing the value addition here. But when you understand how WTO came about, how colonialism worked and how trade evolved the way it did, then you understand where you're at, and then you can understand it's not very easy to take over the chocolate industry that has been established in Switzerland or Belgium for the last 100 years and say, because we produce cocoa, we're now going to be the people that process it. So that is exactly what you're saying, and I'm glad that you came up with the books, and said, read, and you said, it's the inquiring mind, is understanding what's around you. And then you said, take control. Don't let yourself be manipulated. It's interesting looking at it from her perspective, because she's asking all these questions. She's saying, do I just have these opinions because this is what is manipulating me? What is the right thing? Because she at one stage she said,
That's a very
good
good question to ask.
at one stage she said, I'm going, and I don't know if she's still going to do this but she said, no, I'm going to be a veterinary, I'm going to be a wildlife vet. Why are you going to be a wildlife vet? She said, people are destructive. People, they deserve what's coming to them. The animals, the animals weren't responsible. Yeah, she was probably about 14 or something.
Oh, wow.
But
I also had something.
That's why you like fish.
anyway, yeah,
Well, this is so great. I'll just finish with something that came up from my work. So I shared this week, I thought that, I actually have a lot of skills that I have that I didn't know were a little bit exceptional. They're not, I don't have to say they're exceptional, but it's like writing, when you have to do research, you have to write a protocol and get ethical approval. And from my perspective, it's straightforward. But so I'm bringing in more people on my team to work with me. So I got something that I wrote 2 years ago, and then I prompted AI and gave this guy, I told him, this is the real thing. You can start with this AI. You go and I was like, you go and use AI and come up with something. And they gave me something and I read it and I was like, oh my God, it's not good. It's not good at all. Like it's missing the real thing, and I had to go down and rewrite. And obviously I didn't write the whole thing, but I could just tell AI that you're missing this is the flaw, you have to explain this, you have to bring in this thing. And when I thought about that, I was like, I'm able to do that because I wrote a lot of scientific protocols before AI came. And I don't know how the younger people are going to do that, because the people who are able to do that will be the exceptional people. Like if you can look at what AI has done and say, this is wrong, this is, however, all the words are there and all that, but when I read it, it's wrong. Yeah, so that's what will make people survive.
To add on as well. The one thing we can't forget is you have to remember who is being the majority.
Why?
There is always someone trying to displace Google. There's always, TikTok came and displaced these other platforms. And those guys end up looking for a crowd. So whatever you're doing, if you're part of the majority, someone is going to solve that problem for you, so you can pay them. So you have to.
That's all right. I think this has been a great conversation.
Yeah.
And to all those that have listened, thank you so much. Share this with a friend. I hope it has gotten you to ask questions. Ask us questions in the comment section. Like, subscribe, and we hope that this advances your life. And to all the 16 years old out there, meet up with other 16 years old and talk about this. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.